You keep calling it patience, but if you look closely, it's just fear dressed up as a virtue. You are waiting for a perfect, risk-free moment that life was never designed to give you. We've all been conditioned to celebrate waiting. Society loves to tell us that good things come to those who hold out, that we need to wait for our turn, get all our ducks in a row, and make sure the timing is absolutely flawless before we make a move. So you hold back. You tell yourself you're just being strategic. You convince yourself that you are acting out of maturity and wisdom by delaying the start of that business, holding off on that creative project, or keeping quiet in that relationship. But I want you to be brutally honest with yourself today. Are you actually waiting for the stars to align, or are you just terrified of stepping into the unknown? The universe does not owe you a perfectly safe environment to begin your journey, and expecting one is a trap. You've probably noticed this too. You can trick your own brain into feeling like you are moving forward when you are actually standing completely still. You spend months reading self-help books, buying the perfect equipment, designing a logo, and drafting 50 different plans. You get a massive hit of dopamine every single time you talk about your big vision to your friends. But here is the psychological reality beneath all of that preparation. Your brain doesn't track your growth by the things you intend to do. It only registers the actual physical patterns of your daily choices. Having a massive ambition that is never backed up by a change in your behavior is really just a sophisticated form of daydreaming. We build this entire architecture of waiting because it allows us to play the role of the visionary without ever having to step into the arena and take a hit. We rehearse our lives over and over in our heads. We run through the conversations, we imagine the launch, we visualize the success. But rehearsal is not execution. Rehearsal is safe. And the longer you stay in the rehearsal phase, the more of your actual life simply evaporates while you are waiting for a guarantee that is never going to arrive. Now here's the interesting part, and this is something most people will never admit out loud. You are not actually paralyzed by the fear of failure. Think about it for a second. You have failed before. You have messed up. You have lost things. You have been embarrassed, and you survived it all. Failure itself is completely survivable. What you are actually terrified of is failing in public. You are terrified of being seen, giving absolute maximum effort, laying your entire soul on the line, and having an audience watch you fall short. So, your ego deploys a brilliant defense mechanism. It tells you to hold back. It convinces you to only give 70% of your effort to your goals. You keep one foot firmly planted out the door, so that if the whole thing comes crashing down, you have a built-in excuse. You get to tell yourself, well, I wasn't really trying my hardest anyway. By refusing to go all in, you protect your ego, but you completely empty out your life. You build a personality around not being too loud, not wanting too much, and making sure nobody has a reason to judge you. And maybe you think you are protecting yourself from the pain of rejection, but holding back doesn't actually stop you from hurting. It just trades the sharp sting of a temporary failure for the permanent, quiet ache of wondering what you could have become if you actually tried. Here's what's crazy. This state of perpetual waiting doesn't feel like a crisis. It doesn't feel like your life is falling apart. It just feels like a Tuesday. It feels like staying in, scrolling on your phone, and telling yourself, I'll definitely start next week. And because it feels so normal, comfort becomes completely invisible. You don't realize that you are actively choosing to surrender your dreams, because comfort slowly expands to take over whatever space you allow it to occupy. Over time, without you even noticing, your standards drop. You become tolerant of being stuck, and the very things you once considered rock bottom become the new normal you live with every day. You start editing your desires before they even fully form in your mind. You tell yourself that wanting a massive, extraordinary life is arrogant or unrealistic. You shrink yourself down. You bury the parts of you that feel alive, and then you have the nerve to call that self-betrayal humility. But you can't lie to your own nervous system. When you see someone else living boldly, taking risks, and going after what they want, you feel a tightness in your chest. You might call it jealousy, but it's not. That feeling is actually grief. It is the part of you that still wants to fight, mourning the version of you that gave up and decided to settle. And this is where things change. You have to realize that you are not waiting for a sign. You are not waiting for more information. You already know exactly what you need to do, and you have probably known it for a very long time. You are just waiting for a version of the answer that doesn't require you to sacrifice anything. You want the growth without the growing pains. You are looking outside of yourself for someone to grant you permission. A mentor, a supportive friend, or a certain number of likes on the internet to authorize you to finally take control of your own life. But waiting for someone else to validate your path is just a way of rejecting yourself. Nobody is coming to hand you a map, and nobody is coming to save you. Not because you aren't worthy of being saved, but because the door holding you back isn't locked from the outside. It is only locked from the inside, and you have been holding the key this entire time. The exhaustion you feel every day isn't because you are working too hard. It's because you are burning all your energy fighting a war inside your own head, negotiating between the person you actually are and the safe, small person you are pretending to be. So, how do you actually break out of this? How do you stop being patient and start moving? Most people never realize this, but taking the leap doesn't feel like a movie montage. It doesn't arrive with a swelling soundtrack or a sudden burst of fearless motivation. It feels like nausea. It feels like your hands are shaking. It feels like taking a step before you have any idea where your foot is going to land. Your patience has expired. The illusion of the perfect moment is dead. The cost of hiding is too high, and the pain of staying exactly where you are is finally greater than the terror of changing. You don't need a guarantee to start. You don't need the audience to applaud. You just need to stop waiting for permission from the fear that has been running your life. Take the step. Do it messy. Do it scared. Let yourself be seen trying. Because the man who finally stops pretending, who stops waiting, and who moves forward with nothing to protect, is the most unstoppable force on earth.